Hello, everybody. My name is Christopher, and I'm broadcasting for the Kindway. I just wanted to have an episode here and go over this geometry behind me, also known as Metatrons cube. Now, I did not create Metatrons cube. I simply recreated Metatrons cube, and I watched some videos from Robert Edward Grant in order to recreate this. I'm going to kind of go over some of the different structures that are embedded inside of this. I'm also going to go over the platonic solids and effectively how I see that they were created. We're going to get started with the platonic solids, right? So if you're unaware, there are 5 platonic solids. The 5 platonic solids are the tetrahedron, the cube, the octahedron, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron, right? And I would say that the definition of a platonic solid is that all of the sides are the same and all of the corners have the same angles, right? This is what makes them different, special, awesome. So this would be this is a tetrahedron, right? So it just has 4 sides, all triangles, right? Then you have a cube, right? Which has 6 sides, all squares, right? Then you have a octahedron, which has 8 sides, all triangles. And then you go on to, I don't have a dodecahedron to show you guys, nor an icosahedron, but I do have this, which holds all of those platonic solids inside of them. We'll get into that in just a second. So let's start with the idea of the tetrahedron, right? This is a tetrahedron. Now, when you take one tetrahedron and a second tetrahedron and you put them together, you create this shape right here. This is called a star tetrahedron. And if you can't see it, that is a tetrahedron upside down, tetrahedron right side up. Right side up, upside down, masculine, feminine, or feminine, masculine. I'm not positive which way those are. But they consider the Merkaba. Oh, and so the star tetrahedron is also called a Merkaba. If you're interested, we actually make these and sell them on an Etsy shop. The listing will be in the description or something if you're interested. But anyway, this is kind of what started me on this path of understanding. So what happens when you have the tetrahedron, one facing right side up, one facing upside down, is it creates a star tetrahedron, or what is also known as a Merkaba. Now, the thing about a Merkaba is once you create this shape, you've just created more of the platonic solids, right? So out of this tetrahedron, you create this shape. Well, this shape is actually, if you just took all of its corners and connected them, it would be a cube, right? So out of the tetrahedron, we've created a cube. Now, further than that, out of this tetrahedron, we've created the star tetrahedron. Now, if we took off each of these points, right, this point, this point, this point, this point, and hacked all of these tetrahedrons off of it, the structure that we'd be left with is this, the octahedron, right? And then there's also an easier way to kind of see that is if we connect these together, you see that pocket that it creates? That pocket, these are big, that pocket fits, oh man, I'm going to drop these. That pocket fits perfectly a octahedron, right? I mean, it's not the right size, but you see the shape is. So actually all the scrap material from creating these, I make all of these tetrahedrons. So I go and I see Robert Edward Grant. He's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I gave him one of these, one of the cedar ones. And then actually, funny enough, is this might be, no, this isn't it. But I have one that Robert, oh, this is it. I know because I put a black mark on it. Well, when I initially had this conversation with Robert Edward Grant, I had these 2 cedar Merkabas, and not these 2 specifically, but one of these 2, which I have marked. And I saw him in Sedona for an ascension retreat. And and he blew my mind. I talked to him for like 4 minutes and he hurt my head, right? I was like, oh, look at this. And then you take this and it fits right in there. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, it's not just the octahedron that's left or that's, that's on the outside. There's also the octahedron that sits on the inside. And from that, I got that whole understanding of the different, how the platonic solids effectively were created from the tetrahedron. Now, we get further into this with like the dodecahedron and the icosahedron. I don't have those little figures. I haven't made them yet. But the idea is that this geometry is embedded inside of itself. In this geometry, it is effectively like a fractal, where the further into it you go, you could just keep recreating itself over and over and over again, right? It never ends. It would just be, you could create this geometry, you could create in a full scale, and then you could put all of this other geometry inside of it. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. It is effectively an infinite geometry or an infinite shape, because you can just continue to connect lines and find the same geometries embedded in and in and in and in. So that kind of brings us to the idea of what Metatron's cube is, right? Because that's what this is. This is called Metatron's cube. And when I was building this backdrop, I really just had this whole epiphany, effectively, that Metatron's cube is the template for reality. Right now, that might sound crazy, but like I just said, it's an infinite fractal, so to speak. Right? It is infinitely. You can go through the center of this thing and just keep recreating and recreating and recreating geometry. And then the way that I almost look at this, I wish I had like a little character or something that I could put right here in the middle, right? Because I feel like I'm here, right, in the middle of this thing. And this is the reality in which I live in, right? This happens to be a circle, right? Almost like a planet, right? That is forming around me. Or you could even call this like the space of awareness, right? I am aware of the space around me as I am in this vehicle. And with that, I think that there's a lot to be said and a lot that can be gained from even looking at something like this, right? And I'm going to try to show you some of the geometry that's in here. If you can see it, that's fantastic. If you can't, keep on watching, pause this thing, you can find it. Or even better, watch a video on how to actually make Metatron's cube. And Robert O. Grant is a fantastic, it's like 4-year-old video, but he showed me exactly how to make all these geometries, including this one, which doesn't actually have a name. What's in the light blue here, it's made up of hexagons and triangles, and I don't think it actually has a name. But Robert created it, and then I was watching the video, so effectively I created it too, and I think it's beautiful. So that's great. So I'm going to get into the geometry, that's the hidden geometry, or the embedded geometry that is in this, right? So we're going to start with, on the outside, we have the, what is it called? It is called, a cube octahedron. Cube octahedron, right? And that's going to be on the outside here. So this is a triangle, and a cube octahedron is made up of triangles and squares, right? So here you have the triangle, here you have the square, right? Here the triangle, here the square, here the square, here the triangle, and then it ultimately opens up, so you have square, 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 and it creates this triangle right here, right? So it's another triangle right there in the middle. Very cool. Now, if you wanted to create a cube, you would actually have to come from this corner here. You come straight across. I didn't have a little piece here. Probably should have put that in. And then it comes here, and this is going to be your corner that's going to kind of stick out, right? Like that, right? So you're going to have one line that comes straight down, which will be from here straight down. Then you're going to have this one out, and then that one out, right? And that creates your cube. Okay. As far as the tetrahedron, I think that one's pretty simple. We already found it. There's one here, and there's one upside down there. As far as the octahedron, it is embedded inside of this geometry. I didn't necessarily draw it, but it's not very appealing to draw. It just looks like a diamond with a diamond, right? Like two diamonds. Yeah, it's not. Or you can draw it like that, which just looks like a cross, which is also interesting. But yeah, you would have that embedded here. Then you're going to have the dodecahedron. Now, the dodecahedron is here. It is depicted in purple, dark purple. So you have it right here. this would be effectively the dodecahedron. Here's one, and the dodecahedron is made up of all pentagrams, right? Five. All right. So here's one. There's the bottom of it, the one side, the other side, and the 2 points that make up the top. And there's the point. Then you also have, right? You have that one. You would have it here too, but instead I did kind of alternating, right, between the dodecahedron and the hex triangle shape. So anyway, so I have that. So you have it here, here, and then there's also the bigger one, which would be, so you have this one, boom. Then you're going to have it here. Is that it? Oh man, I lost it. Here's one, right? Yes, here. It's all right. You can just keep on looking at it. All right, now we're going to move on to the icosahedron, which is all made up of triangles. Now, in this, it is depicted in dark blue, right? So the dark blue would be these triangles here. There's 1, there's 2, there's another one here, 3, and then it would go all the way around, and the final triangle would be this one, right? And that's the icosahedron. So basically, you know, what I got from creating this is the idea that it is a template, right? And then when I started painting it, it got even more of that idea, right? Especially when I started coloring each of the circles in the colors of the energy centers of the body, right? You know, green, which would be the heart. You know, we'd have red, blue, and then orange would be sacral. That doesn't matter right now. But anyway, so you have all the different energy centers, which is effectively the different ways that energy is moved or processed inside the body, right? So I think that it's a fair assessment to say that if they are the energy centers that make up us, right, in our who we are, how we live, how we view reality, how we interact in reality, our everything, then the same energy that creates us would effectively be the same energy that creates the universe around us, right? So now it just feels like you have all these different projections, right? You have the root projecting out there, you have wisdom projecting out there, you have the throat projecting out there, you have love projecting out there, you have self-service or self preservation out there. You have just all of these different. You have individualization. You have all these different aspects that are effectively in these energy centers, and then what they create is this circular, beautiful world, right? And that we live in, right? That's in the like we live in this awareness that is projected by all of these different emotions, understandings, and calibrations of energy. So I think that's it. If you like this thing, like the video, that's cool. If you actually want one of these, you can go to our Etsy shop and I can make you something similar to it or whatever. You know, if that's something that you're interested in, I have no problem doing that. It brings me great joy. So that would be cool. Also, yeah, feel free to check out our Etsy shop. It's KindwaySacreds, yeah, is the name of the shop on Etsy. So we got Merkabas, we have some different products. I'm going to do a couple other product reviews coming up, but I wanted to just run this thing past everybody, share my experience with it, and hope you guys get something out of it. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.